So I believe our good friend Greg, aka Murphy, who bailed me out on Monday and spent way more time than I think he was planning on talking about horse racing with me on Monday. But he said that it feels like Christmas Eve, and he is just like extremely pumped. I think I fell asleep after he sent that, so I don't know what you guys how you guys responded to that, but yeah, I've been pretty pumped all day, and I think I've kind of been feeling like you, Mark, where today I was just like at there. I hit a point sometime at like 1 today, and I'm like, I just am not going to look anymore because I feel like I'm going to talk myself out of something or look at it too much. I mean, well, I think the for the most part the preparation is done. We'll look at some works. Maybe I've been starting in my PP starting to pencil in some time form figs and places where I think it's important. And yeah, I think it's time. I think
I gotta second what you're saying. I have just been so fucking excited for opening day at Aqueduct that I'm so glad that we're here to talk about it, like, and for me to share my excitement for Friday Aqueduct with the people.
well,
What's your
the funny thing is that for people if we have any new people in the stream right now, uh, they will be seeing that that was a gentleman by the name of Mark saying all that. That was actually Chase. So let me fix that real quick before Mark.
Let the record show?
I'm glad the more of these we do, the worse the production value gets. This is great.
Oh my god.
I mean, we do both have beards. His is better than mine at the current moment. I mean, we look a lot alike.
Hey, I have some facial hair too, but this is just because I haven't shaved in like a week and a half.
What is that, a month, Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is about a week and a half as well. So,
anyways, we are on the wrong lead. On the top left, we have BCBC qualifier Caleb. On the bottom left, we have the most electric man on the premium Discord, Chase, the Wolf of Oaklawn. In the bottom right, we have the group ticket builder extraordinaire, even though he hates the ideas of group tickets, Mark. And I am an extremely tired cherry drink, Josh, because I've done 3 nights of podcasting. So, goodness gracious, I am glad that was over. Big thank you. I already see in chat we got a couple of guys who helped me out this week. Road Warrior 627 goes by the name of Andrew, did an amazing job. So if you listen to our Saturday podcast, he sets the bar very high. Do not expect that kind of professionalism from anybody else on the rest of the rest of the podcast. And then I also see Stu in here. Shout out to Keep Pounding. We did
Big shout out Keep Pounding.
We did try to get Ratchet Rachel on.
Bigger shout out Ratchet Rachel
on the podcast, but she was unavailable. Apparently, she was out partying. So anyway,
even bigger now, slightly than Rachel's. Shout out to Keep Pounding.
But anyways, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and start taking a look at these BC races. We were talking a little bit before, seeing if anybody had anything on the undercard they wanted to talk about. But I think at one point Caleb was trying to make a case for tenfold, and I thought that maybe it's just best that we didn't talk about the undercard races after that. Although I did look at that field real quick, and I mean, you got like Danny California and Rocketry with these. Ugh, cause it's that marathon, right? Yeah.
It's the old marathon that's not even a Breeders' Cup race anymore.
It's not even really a marathon,
baby, right? Am I imagining that?
Just
tap it, baby. That's pretty nice for a marathon race, and done with the under.
Yeah. Although tenfold's a curling, FYI, not
he's gonna tap it on the bottom.
Yeah, but curling, you love curling in those marathon races, Chase. I know, and on synthetic. That was the first Chase angle ever. Was curling babies on synthetic as he freezes. But
curling babies hit synthetic for the first time. Yep.
I wish I had my. Well, oh wait, I do. Hold on a second. So this was something we were supposed to do on the podcast. However, we did not have time to record a podcast. I know Chase had been kind of sick for a little bit, and we had some stuff going on here. And I'm sorry, guys, you're not going to be able to hear this on the voice chat. However, I feel like the audience needs to hear this. So let me see if I can find it. No, I cannot find it. I'll keep on looking for this. But there was some damning evidence, because I was about to mention that one of there's a horse that you really like in this race, Chase, in race 5.
What's the horse's name?
Dak Daniels.
I do like Dak Daniels. I like that name. I love that name.
That is definitely a chase horse. But let's switch on over here. We got race 6, the BC Juvenile Turf, Grade 2, 5.5 furlongs. I said this on the podcast. This is the first time that this is graded, right? Wasn't it ungraded last year? Wasn't it just like a $1 million race or something?
Oh, well, they have to run it for 2. No, they have to run it for 2 years, and I think this is one of the new ones. And it's the BC Juvenile Turf Sprint.
Turf Sprint.
So,
sorry.
Yeah. The Turf is later on, and the Turf has been graded for a long time. But the Sprint, I think you are right that this is the first year that it's officially been graded, even though it did have a $1 million purse.
All right, sorry, I found the file. We're gonna have to stop here. And Chase, you already know what this file is, so I'm gonna have to play it for everybody here.
I was going to like the first time Street on top if this comes up wet, if they get some rain. The other two in here that if this comes up wet, I find super interesting would be Flapjack, the 7.
For those for you guys on the voice chat who didn't see, that was in fact Mark back in March saying that he likes Flapjack. We have been incorrect. You are exonerated, Chase. You were not the person who called out Flapjack. It was, in fact, Mark. So Flapjack is no longer yours. However, Sir Rick is definitely in there. It's in that same one. So I don't know. I don't know if you should be happier that you didn't call Flapjack, or sadder that you called Sir Rick. But
I'm really just sad for Mark and then humanity that he was such a fan of Flapjack. That's really where all sadness comes from. My sadness is a lot of it is for Mark's mental capabilities more than anything. It's just, it must be hard living, not being able to find your way out of the house every day.
I mean, I did fly into a pandemic to go down and sit on couches, Chase's couch, and watch Oaklawn races. So
that's fair. You are a good friend. I take it back.
My mental capacity is obviously slightly diminished.
Funny story is, I was actually talking with Mike Gorgonzola, who was doing podcasts with us. He was also there for that that Rebel Day, and he. Funny thing is that they decided to just spend the whole time in the casino, and he's like, that was probably not a smart idea to instead of just staying at home, going to the casino for 2 days straight. But yeah. Anyways,
you actually got to shoot craps with Sean Payton.
Let's take a look at this race. Caleb, as the the BCBC entrant in the group here, what are your thoughts here? We'll let you start off first.
Yeah, so there's kind of 2 different approaches I kind of took when handicapping this race. One of them is unique to how I'm going to approach BCBC, but I'll just talk about the race a little more in general, since I think that's probably more applicable. That being said, in both perspectives, I was coming into this race thinking Golden Pal is a stone cold single. He can't really lose against this field, and I was playing a lot of my plays around him in this field, and I think he is unquestionably the best horse in this field. He kind of he lost his debut on dirt, but whatever. They ship him to Ascot and runs his eyeballs out, just getting nipped late. Then they finally bring him back here, put him at Saratoga in the Skidmore Stakes, and he just destroys that field under a hand ride, totally geared down. I really think he's, definitely the horse to beat here. He's the first colt out of Lady Shipman. A lot of hype around this horse for really his entire career. My hesitation is pretty obvious here, which is the post. The 14 hole is rough. I mean, 5.5 furlongs on the turf at Keeneland. You don't have all the time in the world before that turn comes up on you. He has the farthest outside post, and pretty much every speed horse is drawn inside of him. So I'm really concerned about his ability to clear and get over, or get hung 5 wide, or be shuffled back. None of those 3 scenarios. I mean, if he clears and gets over, that's great. I don't know how likely that is. I do think he's the likeliest winner in this race, but I really changed my tune a little bit. The more I looked at the race, the more I looked at the post. He's got speed, pretty much in, the 10 hole, the 11 hole, the 7, the 8. I mean, there's a lot of other speed in here. A lot of horses only have one way to go, and that's forward and as fast as they can. And I just can't really trust a 2-year-old horse from that post with that run style at this distance. So I acknowledge he's the horse to beat. If you're playing the late pick 5, for example, I wouldn't talk anybody off of singling him. I think you definitely need to use him, but he's not the kind of horse that I would build my entire day around, because I do have a lot of concerns with that post.
Yeah, I think I ran into a similar issue in this race, and it's sort of, I'm approaching it from a pick 5 standpoint. How do you build tickets in here, and how heavily do you use them? And I think a horse has got to be kind of a lone A type for me. I think the post, he's out there, but he's got speed drawn inside, and there's only really other 2 that he's probably going to be just off from. It's a turf sprint. If he's only running 1-3, if he's going 3 wide around the corner, especially at Keeneland, it probably doesn't concern me that badly. If he gets strung 6 or 7 wide around the corner, okay, then all of a sudden it gets real scary. The situation becomes, where do you go once you get past Golden Pal? Because all of a sudden you go very quickly from, in a pick 5, if you're a smaller player, he's a single, and he's the kind of horse that you can build around, and he needs the right trip. If you get past him, all of a sudden you're 10 deep in here real quick. And I think and you start getting into a lot of prices really, really quickly. So it's a really a conundrum of a race. I can throw some of the ones out here that I was interested in. Of course, I took 2 Euros, being the idiot that I am, and not realizing that they basically don't win turf sprints in the United States. But I don't know, Lipizzaner, the 3. Lipizzaner with Ryan Morup was a horse that really fits on time form. The other horse that I thought really fit quite well on time form was the 6. You better believe it. And and the other horse that I was really impressed, because I happened to be playing Woodbine of all places for the Woodbine Caress, was Dirty Dangle. Dirty Dangle has the same kind of stuck out there, but horse is 2 for 2 and now moves over to the Cassie Barn. Seems like a super interesting horse. After that, kind of those as my Bs, I could, again, there's about 10 horses in here that are super interesting.
So as someone who spent a lot of time watching Saratoga, and pretty much watched Saratoga mainly, it's personally hard for me to not have a little bit of bias towards Golden Pal, because of the way that he won the Skidmore, being so incredibly impressive. I will not be surprised if Golden Pal wins the race. I think there are a couple little things going on that are some kind of deeper angles in this race that make me think that he might have, even if he gets out there and clears, that he might have a real, a really contested lead out front. And that is the addition of blinkers in some of these horses, particularly Momos, the Christophe Clement horse. I feel like that horse might get out there and really show even a little more speed and be a little more, game to duel with Golden Pal than we might have initially just said Golden Pal is just too fast for him. And also the Euro in the one post, the Gurkha horse. That one's adding blinkers also. I automatically tend to think of Euros as running from off the pace, but I'm not really sure. I haven't done any replay work with that one, the Gurkha horse. I actually was.
I was going to say, Mighty Gurkha, the one, has historically been very forwardly placed and very aggressive. So it's interesting to see that kind of horse where they're adding blinks.
Yeah. So yet another kind of fly in the early speed ointment. So I actually, you mentioned the two horses that I'm probably going to be using a lot of, and definitely win betting, which is the Lippa's Honor. I feel like Lippa's Honor is one of these horses that actually has a little bit more seasoning with the rest of this field and has been on the steady improvement. I don't think, I'm not sure if he's raced around a turn yet, but the thoroughgraph numbers are certainly there. The run style is certainly there. And I feel like that's a horse that really could blow it up in this first of the sequence. And then Dirty Dangle. Dirty Dangle has the ability to run from off the pace. And those workout lines are nasty. Just impeccable workouts. You're talking about a bunch of workouts where he's coming in, sub, 12 per furlong clips. And that's worth noting. Either something was up with the clocker at Woodbine, because Mark Casse has one in the next race also that's got some pretty insane work tabs. Sorry, I keep saying she, my fault. But yeah, I think that Dirty Dangle is one that could definitely be there at a price. But all that being said, wouldn't be shocked at all if Golden Pal runs this field into the ground. Comes out, runs a close to 20s, a 20.9 sort of opening quarter, and still holds on and wins it.
Yeah, I think it's also an interesting thing with, we're talking about 5.5 here. There's a big difference turf sprints between a 5.5 and a 6 or a 6.5. And these are almost always won right on or just off. And if you looked at the Keeneland Fall Meet, these turf sprints were, I think every horse was within 3 lengths of the lead at first, or at every call of the race, every single winner. So I expect somebody to be really, really forwardly placed. And again, if you're playing that game, it puts you down to sort of Golden Pal, horses like Bodeheim and Momos, those types of horses that are going to be on or just off. But again, how do you work those into a ticket? Because none of, the only one in there that's shown the ability to be fast enough to kind of get this done is Golden Pal. And I also kind of wonder in here, Wes Ward has about 10 entrants in this thing. What are orders from him? I mean, I would assume he's got to have some horse in here that's full send. He's got to have somebody that he's rating. How do you as a trainer manage that? Or you just, toss all your jocks up and say, hey, have at it? I don't know.
Yeah, the jockey tactics will be interesting for sure.
Yeah, oh, sorry. Go ahead, Caleb.
No, you're done. I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, Murphy's in the chat asking anyone on Momos, and I have 3 horses in this race. The 3 horses I'm interested in is obviously the 14 Golden Pal. Hasn't done anything wrong. Didn't break its maiden right away at Gulfstream. Went to Ascot and should have. I thought he was going to win that race. That was unfortunate because we got some good odds on that horse, and then came back to Saratoga and just absolutely, just destroyed that field. So Golden Pal is the horse to beat. I actually have another A in this race, and I'm using another A in this race. Good thing I'm probably going to be going a little bit skinnier later. But so this is kind of like more of that in between A and B horse, but I think I'll end up moving up to an A. The 10 Bodenheimer, I'm betting speed here. Bodenheimer, at least from what I've seen on Brisnet, looks to be the fastest of the horses early, and has won on this track going this exact distance. Now, obviously that was against easier competition. He's got much classier horses to deal with here, but at least you don't have a question about how he's going to take the ground. You don't have any question on how the distance is going to fit him. I mean, he's already done it his last race, so I'm interested in Bodenheimer as kind of he's going to be like a middle price, I think, here. The other horse that I am interested in, and I have as a pretty solid B, is the horse that Murphy's asking about, the 7 Momos. Honestly, if I had any other jock but Manny Franco aboard, not any other jock, because it could have been like Joe Talamo or something. But if I would have had like Luis Saez aboard on this horse, being, I think, the most inside drawn, the fastest horse that's drawn inside of the 2 other speeds, at least I think the 2 other real dominating speeds. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of these horses are pretty close. But I think Momos is going to get should probably grab the lead here. And I just don't know if looking at the pace figures, it looks like in every single one of his races at 6 furlongs, he's just petered out. I don't know if, he goes that fast early that he needs to, if even shortening up a half furlong, if he's going to be able to hold on. So that's kind of the question mark. You get Manny Franco aboard, which, on turf does not excite me one bit. So, I have a little bit of questions there, but those are kind of the three that I'm going to be keying around. Chase, you did touch on another horse here in Dirty Dangle, which I have absolutely no idea what to do with, because the horse looks pretty good. The horses won pretty impressively at Woodbine in those 2 races, and I'm just like, I don't know. The speed figures on Briz look at least competitive. I don't know. I haven't looked at time form yet for this, so maybe he's not even close. But
she's right there. She's only a couple points behind Golden Pal. She ran a 95 last out. Golden Pal ran 101. So you're talking 6 points. Yeah, that is influential. But but Dirty Dangle should probably sit, if this comes apart at the seams, which it seems there's a ton of speed. If it comes apart, I think it falls into somebody like Dirty Dangle's lap.
Yeah. So I don't know. This might be another B or C type horse. This is the kind of horse that I would, if budget was absolutely no problem, this would be a horse that I would want to include. But it's kind of important. We'll kind of see how the rest of the rest of the day plays out. But those are kind of the 4 at least that I'm most interested in. It seems like most of us are kind of around there.
Hey, stupid question on Dirty Dangle. I don't know if you guys have it on any of your information. Was she a private purchase by Eclipse Thoroughbred and Gary Barber after that last start? I mean, I see the trainer change, and when I remember, I had liked her in that Caress, and I thought she was under local Woodbine ownership. So,
yeah, I don't know, because they don't
normally, don't they say who the previous trainer was for an
owner?
Yeah,
Ralph.
There's a change.
Yeah, that's true.
It was Ralph Biamonte.
Yeah, it's Ralph Biamonte, but it doesn't say previous ownership. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe it just was a trainer move.
Yeah, I mean, and Cassie makes sense since Cassie's got a pretty decent sized barn at Woodbine. So, and if they want to put her into bigger races here in the States, I mean, Cassie makes sense to be the trainer to switch over to.
And Ralphs as a people don't win Breeders' Cup races. That's not something Ralphs do.
And as somebody who has spent the majority of the week Ralphing, I believe you would know.
I thought he was Ralphed on.
Oh, I was all of it.
Yeah, all of it.
I was all of it.
Okay, it looks like Murphy was saying that owner for the last win was Demizio and Biamonte. So yeah, it was a purchase.
It was a private purchase. Yeah. So you can take that one of 2 ways. You either take it as it was, hey, we think this horse is a monster, and somebody like Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners, who's a one of the big, Gary Barber, bigger players in the industry, is saying they probably want her as a broodmare prospect, but they're saying, hey, we're gonna, you can either look at it as they're buying her and taking her shot, or you can look at it as, they really think she's a monster and they want to get her out of Woodbine, where Biamonte may be more of a local player, and moving to something like Cassie can ship a little better, has a little bit of more of that, target bigger races. So you can take it either way, I guess.
Yep, shout out to the newlywed in the chat over here. Garth Butcher's in chat here.
Congrats.
Oh, congrats.
When did he get married? He got married what?
A few weeks ago.
A few weeks ago, right?
Yeah. A couple weeks ago, yeah. It hasn't been in chat on, so.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple other horses that had question marks on that I was going to do a deeper dive in. Mighty Gurkha, which you guys kind of talked about, and the lip horse that I am not going to try to pronounce.
Yeah, I think
Lipizzaner, as in the Royal Lipizzaner Stallions, the Belgian dressage horse team.
Yeah.
I think you're
wasting my mom took me to see when I was like 8.
If you're betting Europeans in a turf sprint for 2-year-olds around the turn in America, these horses don't leave the gate. They don't know what to do. They're shell shocked. They come out sideways. They don't get involved in the race until it's halfway over. I probably just put 2 of them in the winner's circle, but I won't have a European on a turf sprint until it beats me at least once.
It's amazing how that running from a gate and going around a turn is the more daunting task than breaking from a gate with 50 other 2-year-olds and running like hell in a straight line isn't more more concerning for them.
Well, I guess if everybody breaks slow, then a slow break doesn't really cost you. But over here, when people get out of the gate like a cannon and you have to save ground because that actually matters around the turn, it does make a difference.
I had a question mark next to Cowan. I don't know if the horse is fast enough. The last Fig looks pretty good, but obviously lost to Bodenheimer, so I don't know. Interesting to note, a very late breaking development with this horse. Apparently, Ricardo Santana Jr. has learned how to ride on turf, especially in Kentucky. So
it's very, very late breaking news.
So I don't know.
Very recent development.
Yeah, it happened in the Belmont, or it happened in the Keeneland Fall meet. That
like 1,000 starts
in like the past month. Like I was just like watching, and I was like, "Who the hell is that on that horse?" Like I'm like, I thought that was Santana, and sure enough. So I don't know. To be
fair, he's been getting a lot of maker mounts in Kentucky lately.
Yeah, and I mean Steve Asmussen on turf sprints, I don't think he's like awful, but also he probably picks up most of his wins at like in like Texas and Remington on turf sprints there where they run where they don't run turf horses on the turf there. But
he's done some damage with Corrales as his turf jock, and in the I want to say Kentucky Downs and also at Keeneland. He seems to have found like a little bit of a turf thing with Geraldo Corrales in those races.
Yeah, so I mean, we could probably talk about most of these other races. I think at some point I was trying to make a case for the Jose Valdivia horse, the 2 Windy City Red, because somebody had mentioned he looked good on like the Razigan sheets, but I asked Caleb how he looks on the thoroughgraphs, and he's like just utter garbage. So,
if you're playing the sheets horses here, you pretty much want Bodenheimer and Golden Pal, or Europeans. If you're willing to go there, but otherwise, nobody else is fast enough without a pretty big step forward. But those would probably be my 2As if I was going to do like a pick 5 or something here. It's tough because the only horses I liked were in posts 9 and outwards. So I don't really want to like get off a Golden Pal so that I can use Second in July in the 13 post. Like that's not really much better. And you have to deal with Dylan Davis. So it's like there was no appealing alternative to Golden Pal, which is why it's either a race where I think you kind of hitch your wagon to him or maybe just skip, which I'll probably end up skipping this race for BCBC purposes.
All right, cool. Let's move on. Let's go here to race 8, and I don't know why. Wait,
you mean race 7? You mean
race 7? God bless it. I'm getting all mixed up here.
Oh, hey Chase, your hand up. What's up?
Can I go? Can I go first here?
Yeah. So race 7, mile on the turf, Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Chase.
So in this one, I felt like you had 3 horses that were actually going to get out and be the people who dictate the pace scenario in this one. And it was going to be Gretzky the Great, Fire at Will, and Altador. The thing with them getting out there and dictating the pace scenario is that I don't believe that any of them are going to be going so fast that it's going to be set up for any of these horses that really kind of want to fire from off the pace. You really had to kind of will a couple of those to be on the lead, to think of them as being those on the lead types. Gretzky the Great has a just fantastic work tab, kind of like Dirty Dangle did in the other one. It makes you wonder, like, is this work tab that has more bullets than a fucking bandolier actually legit? Like, or is the clocker number out of Woodbine a little bit off? Even if it is a little bit off, those are still really great works. With that being said, my probably highest confident long shot play of the day. I mean, I had longer shots that I liked in the previous race. I have other longer shots that I like, but one that like I really like to win this race is actually going to be Fire at Will, because I don't, as I said, that you have these 3 horses that are going to be dictating this pace, but you don't have any real, you're rubbing sticks together, but you don't really have sparks and friction to really start a fire to kind of burn it down. So I feel like it's going to be one of those three that gets there. And at that price, I really like Fire at Will. And I think the third drafts like Fire at Will quite a bit too. So I'm really high on that horse. I'll probably be using Fire at Will, Gretzky, and Outdoor, all those horses that are going to be for the place in this race. But Fire at Will is a definite win bet. I might take a pretty big win swing at that horse.
Well, I guess not to shit all over Chase's parade, but I agree with him from the pace perspective. I do think that there's not a ton of speed in here. I'd probably say it's most likely Outdoor gets the lead. And I do like Outdoor in this race, actually. He's one of my 2As. But, Chase kind of already touched on the pace setup, and that's kind of why I do like Outdoor here, is I think he probably is the best of the leaders. I think Fire of Will kind of got it with Murder in that last start in the Pilgrim. I mean, 25-2, 50 and change to the half. Like, that's so slow. I don't think they get away with that here. I mean, I like the fact he does have a win going a mile and a 16th, but that's still only one turn at that kind of goofy Belmont configuration. So I'm not going to give him too much credit for that. The Saratoga start and for his maiden was a legit 2-turn effort, but he didn't do a whole lot of running that day. I just don't know that I could really go there in this race, because I do think this race ultimately gets won by a European. There's some really good Euros in this field. The one who probably takes the most money is Battleground. I'm not using him at all. He could beat me, like he very well could. I mean, he has every right to be a very nice horse, but he has every storybook angle in the world going for him for a perennially overbet trainer with Aidan O'Brien, Ryan Moore. He's out of the damn Found, who won the Breeders' Cup Turf at Keeneland like 4 or 5 years ago. And typically, like the vintage, Group 2 stakes is pretty strong. Came back pretty weak this year. The second, third, and fourth place horses, they have one win between them after that race back in July 28th, and that was a novice level handicap. So this horse could be good enough to win, but he's not good enough based on what he's shown, and he's probably going to get bet based on potential. And that's not a horse I really want to take a short price on. I'm actually a lot more interested in the other European, or one of the other Europeans, the 5 Cadillac. Mrs. Harrington is really more known for her jumps trainers over in Europe, but she's been doing pretty well with her flat runners lately too. This horse has ran really, really well in 3 of the 4 starts, basically. Probably worth noting if you don't follow European racing that much. Leopardstown over in Ireland is probably the best analog to U.S. racing. It goes around a left-hand turn. It's relatively flat without too many undulations or hills or anything. And this horse ran his career best race, both of his best races, honestly, at Leopardstown, although only the mile race was around the turn. He beat Van Gogh that day, who came back to win a great Group 1 in October. I just don't think he really took to the soft ground at Newmarket last time. There's a very quirky dip at Newmarket between the second to last and final furlong, where it kind of goes downhill and uphill. A lot of horses just don't get over it that well. And, watching the replay, it kind of looked like he blew a tire while going over the dip. I think he's incredibly talented. He has a strong turn of foot. He's the horse that I'm probably most interested in from the Euros, but I do think there are other Europeans that are very usable here. Battleground just isn't one of them for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, Caleb was talking about Euros that he's interested in, and I thought he was going to end up on my horse, and he did not. So my horse here that I think, the ones that Chase didn't already mention in the 8-horse Outdoor, who I find quite interesting. The other one I'm really interested in.
That's why I wanted to go first, Mark.
Yeah. The other one I found really interesting in here, my second A, my only other A, is the 12 Go Atletico. It's a horse that has, we talk about this thing about Euros and straight lines. This is a horse that has wins over both right-hand and left-hand cornered tracks. So he's a horse that, the going around a corner isn't going to be a problem for him. Pedigree doesn't really scream that he's going to want to stretch out to a mile, but he's gotten good to soft at 7 furlongs twice. And he almost won the 2-year-old sprint on the undercard for the Arc across basically a bottomless bog at 6 furlongs. So, I think the stamina is there. I'm not worried about it. And, he's a horse that, we always talk about these 2-year-olds taking these massive steps up. If you're a time form person, his last out was freakishly good and quite a bit the best in this field. Now, was it aided by the heavy ground, or was it aided by, the distance or whatever else? That's a question. But, I think Go Atletico is the Euro in here that I'm the most interested in.
I have a question mark next to Go Atletico.
Hold on 1 second. Mark, do you want me to put Go Atletico in the winner's circle for you right now? I'll do it.
Do it, because at 10-1, it'll make my day.
More like Unatletico, am I right? Boom, that horse is winning.
And when you name a horse after a football club, it's got to be good, right?
Sure.
Say soccer. Say don't do that. Don't do that to everyone.
I can't. Come on. John Massey, I'm sure, was proud of that.
You guys did mention my two A's, so I have no idea anymore what the hell's going to go here. I'm actually going to take the two inside horses, Seal Away and New Mandate. On time form, it looks like that Seal Away looks like the fastest horse on time form. I know it was at 7 furlongs on a heavy track, but I mean, just won that by 8 lengths. So I think he's going to be he's coming over with probably the best form out of these. New Mandate also is on a 3-win streak here, once at 7 furlongs and a mile at Newmarket. And is on a little bit firmer ground on good footing there. You get Frankie Dettori aboard, and I think that you could probably just bet every Frankie Dettori mount that he gets on the turf at Breeders' Cup and not feel like you're an idiot. So I have those two as kind of my two A's. I have a lot after those two. I started just I think I could almost make a case for trying to include almost every single horse. I mean, I got to the point where I was trying to make a case for the Learjet, and then I realized that if I can make a case for the Learjet, I probably can make a case for the rest of the horses in this field. I'm not a huge fan of Battleground. I think Battleground's going to get overbet on time form. Battleground looks a little bit slower than some of the other horses in here. Outador did win at Kentucky Downs and is so on that European style course. So usually that you can stretch out to a mile from that 6 furlong. Was on a soft going. The speed figs are just not there, at least on Brisnet. I don't know what they look like on anything else yet, but so I kind of wasn't a fan here, and I think that he might just be better sprinting. Cadillac, you guys already talked about. I kind of have him as a solid B. And I do have the two American horses, Mutasabek and Fire at Will. I have those both as Bs. Fire at Will I do have as a B, kind of because, like what Chase was saying, kind of a pace play. I think that, Santana's going to get aggressive. But at the same time, they did not go fast whatsoever at that mile and 16th at Belmont. So I don't really know if he's going to, be forwardly placed. With those slow fractions, who the heck knows what he's going to do. But he did win, a grade 2 coming here. So, he's got a little bit of form coming in here, same as Mutasabek. So I think if you're going to use American horses, those are the two you're going to want to use. And then, Mark, you talked about Go Atletico. I'm interested in. We will see what price we get. I think there's a bit of talk about the horse, and I think
just a general statement. I think a lot of these lines, a lot of the morning lines, are pretty terrible throughout both days of this card. I think Go Athletic will probably take some money. I don't imagine you're going to get 10-1, maybe 6-1.
The only thing I want to add about Fire at Will is that was a very slow opening quarter at 25 seconds. However, 25 seconds with a comfortable, 1 length lead for a horse on the lead, that's exactly what you want. I'm not sure if you can necessarily fault it for going slow whenever you get that kind of walk the dog type ride. The thing that brings up though is, with that being my best long shot of the day, is the price going to be there to be worth, betting on a hypothesis that the horse is going to be able to run faster earlier in an opening quarter and sustain it. And I think it will be. So that's kind of the only thing I want to add with Fire at Will.
And he loses Kendrick, who we know, turf in the front.
Tomorrow at Aqueduct, I'm calling Naira's unofficial Kendrick Carmouche Appreciation Day, because he is like the only person left in town.
Okay, so stupid question in here. With a lot of these horses, you're seeing not a lot of milers in here. You're seeing a lot of horses that are 6 and 7 furlong horses stretching out, and you're seeing a couple of them that they tried to do roots with, and they're cutting back. Somebody like nobody's mentioned, the 11, Gretzky the Great. Horses won its last 3, has a win at a mile. They're shipping down here off the summer. Is that horse just not getting a lot of credit because sort of walked the dog in the slow fractions last out and was sort of first mover advantage, and seemed to win pretty easy and pretty geared down and won a G1 at the distance. So
that Gretzky the Great's that's one that I really like. I mean, that's one of the 3 that I'm using. For one, like I said, even if the workouts are just a little bit off, like this horse fits this race. Like, it is a great fit for this mile distance. So yeah, I don't think he's overlooked, because I'm definitely looking at him also.
Yeah, I guess my thing with him is, to answer your earlier comment, Woodbine works are always fast. I mean, it's kind of like Los Al. I mean, you'll see claimers run 59 bullets going 5 furlongs. So they're always about a second or 2 faster than they really should be. Not to say this horse isn't working well, because I'm sure he is. But my kind of thought about Gretzky the Great was he might be just really one of those early developing horses who was a little more precocious than his competition throughout the summer. I don't know that he's really taken a step forward in any of those races. On thoroughgraphs, he really has not at all. On Brisnet, it doesn't really seem like he has much. I mean, I'm sure it depends on what speed figures you use. It may tell a different story. But to me, it just looks like he's a horse that, was that early developer horse that kind of beat up on everyone else when he had some experience and some maturity edge. And I don't think he's really taken a step forward. And I'm expecting this to be a much tougher test for him here.
I can respect that. Yeah.
If I wanted to talk about a horse that I think is going to be, first off, I agree with everyone's European horses you've talked about. I mean, CLOA, New Mandate, and Go Athletico are all very live here, I think. If you think that Mutasabek is a contender here, I think you need to look at Abarta, the 3 horse. And sometimes I can trip handicap to a fault. I don't think Abarta can win, but I do think this is a horse that ran arguably a better race than Mutasabek in that Bourbon Stakes. Had a really shitty trip. I mean, if you'll notice it, he ran a Z pattern in that last race, so obviously caught my attention. So I went back and watched it, and he kind of had good positioning early, and it just looks like he kind of lost focus a little bit in the midway part of the race. He got hemmed inside of some other horses and kind of had to wait for all of them to pass him before he could take up a little bit and then steer outside. He went from 7th to 10th between the second call, or the first call and the second call, was still 10th at the stretch, but he was flying home late. Once Rispoli actually got this horse in the clear, he was moving. Now, was he ever going to beat Mutasabek? I mean, it remains to be seen, I guess. But I love the addition of blinkers here. I think that kind of keeps him a little more engaged, a little more focused. That I love Ravioli on the mount here on the turf. And I do think this is a horse that could maybe run like 3rd at an enormous price. I think you'll get much better than 12 to 1.
Is this Turf Jesus' only mount?
No, he has, I think, 5 mounts on the weekend, maybe.
Oh, okay.
How did he ride whenever he shipped in for Keeneland?
He only had like 2 mounts at Keeneland.
He won one, yeah.
This was the one he did the best on.
Yeah, this was his best mount, but he only had a few.
Didn't he win a race? I thought he won a race like 11 to 1 because I remember winning actually.
He may have. I think he did. I can't remember if that was Kentucky Downs or here, but I know he did win.
No, he did win one at Kentucky Downs.
Oh, maybe it was Kentucky Downs that he was at double digits that he won.
I think he only had 2 Keeneland starts, and I think
we were licking our chops on this race because we saw him at 17 to 1. I think we all bet him.
Yeah.
Then he immediately found Mean Gene in a microphone to talk shit to Flavian Pratt across the country.
So I don't have the time form figs in front of me. I just I have notes that I wrote down in my other PPs. This 13 horse, Devil Walla, like, finished like a million lengths behind last, or how many lengths behind was it?
3
lengths, yeah,
3/4.
2 3/4. But at odds 100 to 1, the Fig actually came back pretty strong, and I think fits here. I mean, any idea? Like, you think that this might be a horse that maybe can suck up for third here?
That was a horse that I'm not a huge fan or believer in the sheets, except for these kind of weekends. But Devil Walla was a horse that I felt really had a competitive figure on the sheets, but I didn't really know what else to make of it. I probably need to do more replay work, but the fact that competitive thoroughgraph figure is out there does make it pretty fucking intriguing.
Yeah, so I can share a little insight and also recommendation. If you haven't listened to the Nick Luck podcast, I'd recommend it before tomorrow. He has a lot of really good insight on the juveniles coming over from Europe. So he talked about this horse, and last start was his first start for the trainer Ralph Paquette. It's not actually pronounced Ralph, but I'm not going to bother.
Rafe.
Is it Rafe?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it was Rafe. That being said,
it's the great equalizer for Ralph's pronouncing it Rafe.
Yeah. Shout out to Rafe Vaughn Williams.
So we had to change how it's pronounced. But yeah, that being said, apparently he caught a pretty favorable strip of ground last time and ran with a bit of a track bias, which really moved him up quite a bit. Allegedly, he's not showing much in the mornings. He's working with New Mandate, who's also in this race, and he's kind of getting beat up by that one in the morning. The other thing to consider is this Ryan Rosso, the jock, is just recently graduated his apprenticeship, lost his weight allowance, and is not quite as an accomplished rider. And given the 13 post and a number of other question marks, I'd never talk somebody off a 30-1 horse, but it's a horse that I think I would caution you before you bet him based purely off that last race, because it may not be quite as good as it appears on paper.
I just don't want to get fucked by the Learjet. That's like the one horse that I just I don't know. I mean, we talked about Golden Pal, and he won that Golden Pal race, but he is like dead sprinter pedigree, so I don't know if he's going to be able to stretch out. But go ahead.
Here's my knock on Learjet is that if you look at the race where he actually topped Golden Pal, it was one of those flat races where the track is a mile wide. You can go left, you can go right, you can find your path pretty easily. All you have to do is go further left than everyone, and you're in the clear. Go further right than everyone.
We got Robot Chase.
Yeah, we got Robot Chase.
Yeah. What's going to happen whenever Learjet actually has to go around a turn and has to do something other than,
All right. Chase, try again. No.
Okay. My thing with Learjet was that I want to see what Learjet has to do whenever Learjet has to try to find a clean trip. Am I still good?
You're good. Yeah, we hear you now. Yeah, you're good now.
That's the thing. Coming from those flat races where there's just plenty of real estate, where you're not having to make moves inside, outside, kind of trying to what is it going to take for will Learjet be able to go in between horses? Will be able to do those sort of things. That scares me, even though he's the only horse that's out, in this race that's raced against Golden Pal and actually caught him at Ascot.
Yeah, the one thing about Learjet that scares me is he's never gone around a corner.
I mean, there's a lot of horses in this race that I think you could be afraid of, and I don't think he's one of them. He hasn't moved forward at all since his debut. He's one of those early blooming horses that just didn't get any better. I don't think he wants to go this far. They initially thought he was a sprinter. He's stuck in the parking lot. There's horses to be afraid of here, and I don't think he's one of them.
All right. I think we talked about almost every single horse except for the AEs in there. Any other closing thoughts there?
I think a European wins.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 1 and the 2 are the most likely.
I wouldn't be surprised if a European wins, but I will be excited if a lightly European wins Gretzky the Great, or if Fire at Will gets home.
One final thought is that we made it all the way through the race and didn't mention the Chad Brown horse.
Which Chad Brown horse?
Well, we're fucked.
Sector.
We just chipped ourselves.
Oh, Public Sector. No, that's not the horse I wanted. There's a Chad Brown horse in one of the later races I'm interested in, but no. I mean, he just looks too slow, right?
I mean, he was stuck behind that snail pace last time that Fire at Will.
They're walking. If he gets some pace to run into, he's super interesting here.
I think this is. I mean, just looking at the breeding on this horse, I think this horse probably wants to go a little further than a mile. So, which is kind of tough with this race, right? I mean, like, because you get this 1 mile distance, and you get these tweeners, you get these 7 furlong horses coming from across the pond, you get turf sprinters stretching out, you get horses that have broke their maiden in a mile 16th that probably want to go the more classic turf distances, the 1.25 miles and longer, and it's just kind of like, and then you got your traditional miler, type horses from across the pond as well. So, yeah, you kind of got a hodgepodge of all that in here. So, yeah, be interesting. All right, let's move on. Make sure I'm on the right race this time. Race 8, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies, 1 16th on the main track.
Oh, Josh, this is all you.
This is all me? I already told you.
Oh, this is I've worked 3 days to listen to you make the case for this race.
Oh, my God. I just think that with the fact that Princess Noor is posted outside in the 7 post, and the other horses that have a shot, the 1, the 2, and the 3, are all posted on the inside. I just think that this is going to set up for Princess Noor. I know the speed figures are too slow. Everyone is just like, there's people are saying that the speed figures aren't juiced up enough. I don't know. I haven't seen the works yet, but I think, Mark, you were saying that they're not great. And Caleb like literally did his Caleb thing and like messaged me at 5:00 in the morning or whatever. He wakes up and says, I can't wait to tear into you for this. So as soon as I saw that, I knew I probably needed to change my tune. But I think of the other horses that are in this race, the other horse that I am probably most interested in is gonna be the 3, Day Out of the Office. I think that I think that this horse makes I mean, you could take all 3 of them. I think the Kenny McPeak horse is probably just as good here, but I don't know. At this point, I guess I would take Day at the Office as my other A-ish horse, but I don't know, man. I was pretty set on taking Princess Noor as a lone A here, but I'll wait for you, Caleb, to just completely trash that.
Oh man, when I heard you picked out on the podcast, I don't know if I've ever been more disappointed in anything in my life.
And you've done a lot of disappointing shit.
I've seen
a whole lot of disappointing shit.
I mean, okay, like I get that she's posted outside, but I don't care if she's posted the 16th pole and the other horses have to pull Santa's sleigh. They're still not. She still isn't fast enough to win. I mean, the speed figures are awful. She's beaten nobody. I mean, half of the horses in those California races are basically maidens. And
get them
knowledge, she could win. I mean, somebody thought she was worth $1.3 million and she's blown everybody out. So she could win, but I'm not going to take 9 to 5 or shorter on a horse that needs to improve half a dozen lengths to even be in the conversation. To me, that's just asinine. This will be one of my strongest plays of the entire day tomorrow. Is against Princess Noor. Before, to give you a little bit of credit, I think you did end up on the right horse with your audible. Day Out of the Office has looked really good. She has pretty much dusted every field she's faced and actually ran fast while doing so. Believe it or not, you can do both of those things in the same race. But I think she's the horse to beat here. She doesn't really get the respect she deserves, but that Frizette came back super fast on thoroughgraphs and pretty strong on time form as well. So Day Out of the Office, I mean, there's a bit of a question about the 2 turns in the distance, given the pedigree. I'm not too concerned. I mean, she really handled Vequist last time out. She galloped out huge. if this was a 1.125 or a 1.25 miles, I mean, obviously it's a different conversation, but for a 1.16 miles, I think she's the horse to beat. She's the horse that I want the most out of. And this is a surprisingly competitive field where I do think probably 6 out of the 7 horses can win, and then Princess Nora. But other than that, I'm going to be mostly through Day Out of the Office.
Yeah, I basically 100% agree with Caleb in here. Day Out of the Office has been massively impressive. I think Princess Nora is going to take a ton of money on. Oh, well, look at the trainer and look at how many lengths she's won by. And oh, she was geared down. Well, yeah, Day Out of the Office and Simply Ravishing were both geared down in, all of their starts and won by tons of lengths as well and put up competitive figures in this field. Princess Nora maybe somehow finds the 20 points a buyer or time form fig that she needs to be competitive here. But yeah, I would probably rather take a bet that she doesn't hit the trifecta than I would take a bet that she wins the race.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that she was 20 buyer points behind. I mean, she's pretty close on. I mean, she is slower than the other horses, but she's pretty close on Brisvig. So.
Yeah, Day Out at the Office threw up a 95 last out, and Princess Nora's fastest race was a 79. So not. Yeah, so it's big, and it's a similar gap on time for him. She's won very impressively, but she's beat nobody. She's beat a bunch of maidens, and just had it all her own way. And maybe she can take that kind of step forward. I mean, Baffert horses, along with service horses, tend to do that. But I just this is the kind of 9 to 5 that you love to bet against.
Yeah, I mean, Bob Baffert actually emailed Andy Beyer after Princess Nora's race because he thought the speed figure was too low. I mean, that tells you a lot, is that even Baffert is wow, I thought my horse was faster than that. That's a hilarious tidbit to me, but go ahead, Chase.
That's phenomenal.
I'm really glad I get to go last here because I'm actually going to go with 2 horses that no one else has mentioned as contenders. And it's all based on, what I really think is going to happen at, up front in this race. And is Simply Ravishing and Day Out of the Office are going to fucking throw down together. And when that happens, I really think that Vequist and Girl Daddy have just.
I knew you were going to pick Girl Daddy. Oh my god, I knew that was going to happen. So on brand.
I feel like they both have just a fucking excellent setup. I'm really excited about those two because we're arguing about 2 horses as the top contenders, who are 2 horses that very may well take each other out of this race, because you have some horses that are want to go fast, want to be on the lead, haven't shown any sort of really history of trying to sit back, run from off the pace, and just man, the setup is just perfect for Vequist and for Girl Daddy.
Girl Daddy is interesting to me, I think, as the lone presser in this race. I was taking a look a little bit at Thoughtfully too.
Just one last thing about Vequist, which is you see that Rosario, that Saez makes the move to Simply Ravishing for that. In my opinion, that jump is a great thing for Vequist, because now you're putting Rosario on a horse that wants to run from off the pace. You ended up with 2 jocks on horses with that kind of fit them more. And I feel like with the presence of Day Out of the Office, being there with Simply Ravishing out there on the front, that move, putting Rosario taking that ride after Saez jumps, actually makes Vequist better instead of downgrades him for the jump.
Isn't Vequist the speed of the speed in here?
I don't think so. I think she's coming from off.
Okay. I figured she ended up on the lead because she was your inside drawn speed. Dad at the Office is theoretically faster, but okay.
I think she sets the pocket trip perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, I think from a tactics perspective, probably Simply Ravishing gets the lead with the rail plus the Saez.
I kind of agree. It's either going to be the 1 or the 3, I think, on the lead.
That said, I do like that take, Chase. The 2 other horses I liked here were Vequist and Girl Daddy for pretty much the reasons you mentioned. Vequist probably has a better shot to get the distance than Day Out of the Office does. Maybe she turns the tables. And then Girl Daddy is the closer. If it falls apart, you probably want.
Murphy says Time Form has it as Vequist and Day Out of the Office.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at, was the Time Form projector.
Yeah, I mean, like Brisnet, like the spin away is the fastest. The spin away for Vequist is the fastest early pace fig in the entire field. But you
and she
also had
was
size aboard.
2 lengths back at the first call. 2 lengths back at the first call, 2.5 lengths back hitting the straight. I'm looking at the Frisette, but a length back at the second call, a length back at the first call. In those, like, just sitting chilly. So I wouldn't actually be surprised to see Rosario do a kind of Rosario thing and maybe take that horse back just a little bit, and let the fucking melee ensue and just pick him up and put him down late.
See, now you're playing with fire a little bit because you're asking Rosario to take him a little back. So that might be 2 lengths. That might be 8 lengths. You don't know.
That's true, but then I've also got Girl Daddy.
Girl Daddy was a horse I did look at briefly, but I thought the other horses were just coming out of better races. But
the Girl Daddy has Dale Tar. All hail Dale Tar.
All right, let's move on to race 9 here. We got the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies Turf. We're going a mile on the turf here for the Phillies. Mark, I don't think you've gone first yet. Mark, what do you think here?
Oh man, you're gonna make me put me up first, huh? Yeah, for once, you're looking at one of these, what juvenile turf, whatever. They, I think that some of the U.S. horses really here kind of tower over the Euros for once. I think we were looking at the previous, 2 races back and talking about how good a lot of the Euros were. And I think this race ends up being super interesting. And again, another sort of wide open affair where I don't want to get it locked into anybody else. But, my top choice in here is going to end up being Plum Ali, who, that Miss Griot. Oh, Caleb is laughing at me. Here we go. So
I was laughing at something in Discord. It's not you.
Oh, okay, cool. I was like, geez, oh no, I'm going to get ripped apart on my Plum Ali pick now. I mean, the Time Form phase were best off Plum Ali. That Miss Griot was quite impressive. She got floated a little wide and didn't have it all her own way and still kind of drove to win pretty impressively in that. The other horse in here, I think more than I favorite is Aunt Pearl, who I think is a player, and I think Brad Cox is loaded for bear coming into the Breeders' Cup, and wouldn't be a shocker if she were to win this as well. And the other horse that, and I don't really know what to do with, is Campanelle, who is stretching out here. I don't know. This might be a little bit more distance than she really wants. And, I would have liked to have seen another start since that, the Pre-Morney, in August, but this is what we're getting, and Wesley Ward very well spots these. So, I think she's a player in here. Although of my age, she's the one that I want the least of, just because I have so many questions.
So this is the race where if I'm playing a pick 4 or pick 5, I'm going to single, not because it's my most confident pick, but because it's my most confident race where I think I can single. And it's going to be Aunt Pearl. I don't think anyone can keep up with Aunt Pearl, especially after watching a replay of what Campanelle did last time. Campanelle is going to want to get out and run on the front end, but it's a very kind of plodding on the front end Euro race. Like she ran on the front end, but she didn't look impressive on the front end. Like she was a hard send and everyone was trying to get her. It was a bunch of horses that, she was just in front of a bunch of horses that didn't want to go fast, and she didn't want to go fast either. And I playing a pick 4, playing a pick 5, I really think that I'm probably going to land on just Aunt Pearl and call it, because I don't think that anyone here can keep up with her.
Yeah. You don't think?
Go ahead, Mark.
I was just say, you don't think the field here is a little better, and they're not going to let her get as loose as she did in the lasting? I mean, she in the Jessamine, she absolutely got away with murder. You don't think there's going to be a little more pace pressure from this?
I really don't. I really think that she's going to end up being on top by a comfortable enough margin that, and I honestly, I don't think it matters if she walks the dog or not. I think she can go full bore the entire time and still have enough of a gap that no one's gonna. She set the stakes record for 1 mile on the turf at Keeneland. These stakes running. I feel like she was running pretty open. It wasn't like a restrained, hold some back kind of rush. She was going, and if she runs back anything like that, no one's catching Aunt Pearl.
Yeah, I'm glad that came up because that stakes record is a complete load of garbage.
Yes, it is.
They have
I retract my pep talk, Caleb.
They have like a 200
You don't know shit.
There was like a 200-yard run up in that race. There was just something asinine. And she broke the stakes record by like 2 seconds as a 2-year-old. I mean, if you believe that's legitimate, then I got to
You mean track record, right?
I'm sorry, track record. Yeah. She broke the track record by like 2 seconds. And that, there's just no way. She's super usable in this race, but I think that's the kind of thinking that's going to end up with her being pretty severely overbet, in my opinion. And that's kind of why, of the 3 horses I like here, she's probably the one I like the least. Because if she broke the course record, then the horse that she beat also broke the course record, comfortably by over a second. And I just don't believe that's true at all.
Well, they didn't discuss that in the replay I watched. So sorry.
No, I get it. But I'm glad it came up. That being said, I thought this race, I thought the Americans kind of bring a good 1-2-3 punch to this with Plumlee, Aunt Pearl, and Campanelle. I probably agree with Mark, and that Plumlee is the one I like the best. Just because, to me, I thought there is a significant amount of pace in this race. We already know Aunt Pearl wants the lead. We don't really know if she can rate or come from off the pace yet. Campanelle has 22-44 flat kind of speed. She showed at Gulfstream in that debut. She's probably only gotten faster since then. And I know she maybe hasn't gone faster in some of those Ascot races and the Pre-Mornay or anything else, but she still has run quick and has that kind of gas if she needs it. I do have concerns with Campanelle getting the distance. I think she's really bred to be a sprinter, but I think she's incredibly talented. So it's kind of a tough call for me. I think Royal Approval is a horse who I don't like, but probably ends up being forwardly placed and adds to the pace scenario. Same thing with Spanish Love Affair. Even a horse like Union Gables on the stretch out could get involved in the pace. So that's kind of what led me to Plumlee as being kind of the top pick, because of the 3 American fillies here that look very strong. I think Plumlee is the one who sits the right kind of trip, maybe sits off of a 3-way speed duel, sits in that pocket trip, 3 lengths off, 4 lengths off, 2 lengths off maybe. You have Rosario up for Clement, and I really just think that she's the one that has done nothing wrong in her career. Her thoroughgraphs are outstanding. Her time form numbers are strong. And I think 4-1 is a very fair price for a horse that I think should be the favorite.
Yeah, as usual, Caleb articulates what I was trying to get out of much better than I did. But yeah, I think, there's probably, I think there ends up being more pace in here than there is on paper. I think with like a Royal Approval and both a Spanish Love Affair, both being drawn outside is sort of, Arad's kind of got to go, doesn't he? You're in the 11 post. You sort of have to send. Your horse needs to be forwardly placed. You got to clear. And I think that just you end up with a lot more pace in here than it looks like on paper. And I don't think that, Aunt Pearl gets as loose as she did. And if she does, I think she's got a little pace pressure. Maybe she's a freak, maybe, Brad Cox has her just absolutely cranked and she's a monster. And it wouldn't shock me if she wears this, but yeah, I do like Plumlee. I think if you're a time form person, she has the best time form fig in this field by quite a bit. And she's going to sit the right kind of trip. She's going to sit behind 3 or so speeds and, have a run on them top of the stretch, which, yeah, I think gets that similar sort of setup to what she got in the Grillo.
Yeah, I think I'm going to probably take a stand in this race and sit pretty firm on the 10 Campanelle as my lone A. I'm going to play the class angle and just look at the horses that she's beat overseas. She's done it in 3 countries. So bringing her back here. Ward didn't enter her in the sprint, and I think that he would have been perfectly fine running 1-2 in the sprint. So I'm guessing he doesn't think that stretching Campanelle out is going to be much of an issue. So Campanelle's my top choice in here. I am going to have a soft fade on Aunt Pearl. I think I'm going to take Campanelle as kind of the pace horse I want in this race. Aunt Pearl is going to be the horse that is going to be off my ticket of the shorter prices. Plum Ali is probably might just get moved up to an A. Once again, I got to kind of get a little bit deeper in structure, but Plum Ali is my second choice in this race. Hasn't done anything wrong. I think is going to get, if there's a good chance that Plum Ali is going to get a nice little pace setup in here with enough pace in this race, I think, or a fair amount of pace in this race. The two other horses that I have in here that you guys haven't mentioned, one, I think Caleb laughed at me again for saying that I kind of wanted this horse, and breaks like all kinds of rules. So this horse is probably going to finish dead last. But it's the 9 Madone. So of course I have the West Coast turf horse coming east in a turf race. I'm pretty sure that on that chart that there was about the different distances and surfaces that they posted from in the money. I'm sure that this is like a big old like red X and like never happens. But yeah, I mean, Madone, I think if for some reason Plum Ali doesn't fire, I think Madone might be the other closer in here that I would want. So Madone's probably gonna be more like a C type for me, but I'm not going super deep in this race with A's and B's. And then the other horse I didn't know what to do with, and I know I already said that I'm fading Aunt Pearl, who you could probably say everything I'm going to say about this horse for it, and that's the 14 editor at large. I mean, it's the Lope de Vega 2-year-old in Chad Brown's barn. I mean, Lope de Vega wins at 2, just like an astronomical amount. So I'm very interested in this horse. I know it came up a little short in that Plum Ali race. I haven't gone back and watched the replay yet for that, but this was another horse that was interesting to me. This seems like a type of horse that Chad can probably move forward a little bit. I don't know if this horse has got a chance to win, but at least this horse kind of was on my radar a little bit. Would probably be a horse that I definitely use at least underneath. Yeah, that's kind of where I landed on this one.
Yeah, and before we move on, two prices that I thought were sort of super interesting in here. The number 2, Miss Amulet, who I find it interesting to see. I mean, obviously Ryan Moore went elsewhere, so that probably tells you all you needed to know about the 2. But interesting to see a local jockey. You're getting Julian up. Julian obviously is good at the turf, and if you're a time form person, this horse is one of the faster ones. Faster ones in this. In this race. Again, hasn't gone around a left-hand corner yet, but one that's sort of a little bit interesting. And I know I was listening to somebody's podcast today while I was at the gym, and they were talking about the fact that they were shocked that it may have been actually Josh talking with Gorgonzola, and he was sort of saying that he was sort of interested that a lot you would assume that the Euros would take more local jocks on the turf, just under the idea that they would understand the ground, understand pace setups, and maybe have a better feel. So I find it interesting that Julian's up on this one.
And I stole that from Nick Luck.
Did you steal from Nick Luck? Okay, I know you were talking about that, and it got me thinking. And Miss Amulet was sort of interesting under that angle, and with the time form fakes. And also, this is a horse that has improved. That time form fake has improved every single start of her career. So I love to see a horse that just continues to grind and get better and better and better and better and better as that 2-year-old season goes along. So it's one that at a bit of a price that might get lost a little on the board that I found kind of interesting. The other one that was along the same lines is Mother Earth, the 8. Ryan Moore got off the 2 to ride the 8 at a longer price, and a horse that I'm sort of trying to understand why. I don't know if it was just trying to keep Aiden O'Brien happy, but Ryan Moore rides for everybody. So again, a horse the figure on that last out race was freakishly fast. I don't know if it was just the really, really soft going flattered that horse, substantially, or if this is a 2-year-old that has turned that corner and has gotten a lot better, later on in the year and just sort of started figuring things out. Again, another one that needs to negotiate, a couple of corners that she's never done before. But a horse that at a price would not be a shocker.
Yeah, I guess in that sort of vein, the Euro that I'd be most interested in is actually the one that we haven't talked about, which is one of the ones we haven't talked about, which is the one Unadada. If you look at who she's raced against, I mean, Shale and Pretty Gorgeous are probably the top two fillies in Ireland right now. She actually beat Shale in her debut, although you can't see from the running lines right here. Then in that race on August 6th at Leopardstown, Udinata kind of freaked out in the gate, got upset in the stalls, and just didn't really run her best race after that at 3-1. Came back in the Molly Stud and ran a pretty good race at 22-1. Was beaten by Shale and Pretty Gorgeous, but by no means embarrassed. And I really, I listened to an interview with the trainer. She said that this horse really wants firm ground and had nowhere in Europe where she could get that for September, October, or November, which is pretty much why she's here. The trainer didn't sound super confident that she was going to win this race, but it was more of we already have 3 or 4 pretty live horses, and it costs just as much money to ship 4 as it does 5, or whatever you want to say. But she does seem like a horse that's really going to improve with the stretch out to a mile. I think she could be a pretty live contender here at a pretty nice price. So that's one who I think the ground's looking like it should be firm for tomorrow, at the very least on the firmer side of good. And I think that she could be one, gets the comfy draw, saves all the ground. I mean, she has to get out of the gate okay. But if she can avoid having any issues in the stall, I think she's one that could hit the board at a pretty nice price.
Yeah, and also Pretty Gorgeous, who she was only beaten 3/4 of a length by, came back to win a G1 at Newmarket. So she's been, you were mentioning, she's been running versus some real tough company. Shale being phenomenal, and Pretty Gorgeous, who beat her last out, was also very good.
So can I ask a question? And this is before we get to our next race. This is more of a general question. Obviously, you guys have been following horse racing, I think, on Mark, I mean, probably decades longer than I have, but the rest of you guys a couple years more. What is the thinking behind having so few 2-year-old races?
I think it's just a matter of what other 2-year-old races would you want to have. You're not going to run a 2-year-old race at 1.5 miles. You're not going to run them at even 1.25 miles. So you're sort of limited on distance, and you're only got 2 surfaces. You sort of are a little limited on the options you have there.
I mean, why don't they run a dirt sprint?
I honestly don't know. And
that seems like the one thing. I'm like, I mean, that's like 2 extra races you could add. A filly. I mean, like, there's plenty of horses here that are sprinters that get put into these races just because there's nowhere else to go. So I was just curious.
I also think there's a lot of field size things here. You're talking, a lot of horses don't even start till they're 3. So you're in that boat where, most of these 2-year-olds you're seeing are 2-year-olds that started early as 2-year-olds. They weren't late blooming 2-year-olds that are, up and coming. So, and also I think that the 2-year-old racing is always kind of thought of as at the Breeders' Cup as being, I want to say second tier, but it's not the main attraction.
Or maybe the breeding industry doesn't give a shit about sprints.
Yeah, that's why they breed every fucking horse with sprint pedigree.
All right. Well, we got one race left here. It looks like road races they have in the past. I was just like curious because I was like sitting there and I was looking through. I was looking for a dirt sprint for 2-year-olds, and apparently they just don't run them. I didn't realize it because since they start 2-year-olds running 4.5 all the time, so. You would think that they would keep a 6 furlong or 7 furlong sprint or something, but maybe they think it's just too close to the 1.16 miles. But all right, let's move on to the big one, the Juvenile 1.16 on the main track. We are gonna have a fairly short price favorite here in Jackie's Warrior. I'm actually a little against in this race. I can't say I'm like super against because I think the horse can still win, but I think at least from a pace perspective that this horse is going to be up against it a little bit. What do you think, Chase?
I'm going to kind of approach this race from just a purely vertical kind of standpoint, and with that being said, I feel like I can probably use Jackie's Warrior and Key on top, because if Jackie's Warrior runs back to what he did in the previous race, then it's going to be, I mean, it shouldn't be a question of who's going to win. And I do feel like Jackie's Warrior has enough speed that even if she is up against it, that she's going to be able, I keep saying she because of Jackie, but I guess Jackie Robinson was a.
I do the
a
same
fella.
thing, dude. This horse gets me every time.
Jackie Brown.
But I feel like he has enough speed that there is a speed contention that he's going to be able to fend that off. And if that happens, what's going to happen is it's going to open the door for some fantastic prices underneath.
Jackie Chan.
Thinking of it from a vertical perspective, if I'm going to take Jackie's Warrior and Key on top, I'm looking at horses like Camp Hope sitting on go next, and Keep Me in Mind as horses that I can use underneath in a exacta or a
Jackie
a
Moon
trifecta
in the chat.
That I can key on top of in an exacta, and even if I get a short price there with Jackie's Warrior, I'm going to be able to extend that price quite a bit when it comes to exacta pools. Camp Hope is one that I really like for an underneath play, but I'm right now I'm really honestly looking at only one winner, which might be a little bit unimaginative when it comes to a field that's this size, but if you look at what Jackie's Warrior did in the previous race, even if he comes back a little less than in this race, some other horses are going to have to take big steps forward to beat him. And I feel like they're going to kind of sacrifice themselves out of the money if they try to go with, and that's going to give me all the value that I want right there. That being said, if I'm playing horizontally, this is not where I single, because this is a huge field. You have the chance that, pace actually does get to him. So, it's kind of the flip of, I'm probably the most confident in a horse with Jackie's Warrior, but it's not my most confident race where I actually want to play a single.
Yeah, I would say, of the Breeders' Cup races on the day on Friday, I think this is the most likely winner, and the most likely the horse most likely to be singleable for your average player. I think Jackie's Warrior really towers over this field on Beyer speed figs, on Briz speed figs. I don't know about the sheets; I haven't really looked, but it seems to be. I don't think anybody can go with Jackie's Warrior early, and I had always you keep asking that distance question as they've stretched him out, and he keeps answering it. I don't think the extra 16th is going to be a problem, given the fact that he was pulling away from reinvestment risk, who's arguably the second fastest horse in the race. The only other horse that I want any piece of in here, Jackie's Warrior will be a lone A for me. I'll probably have a single B, and that'll be Essential Quality, the 5, the Cox horse, just in a horse that's a bit of an unknown quantity and has gotten this distance already, says sticks, and might be and also has a win across the track. I guess with Jackie's Warrior, that's the real question is, does he handle the new goings? But he's won it 3 tracks now, so I don't know why the 4th one would be a problem. But yeah, Essential Quality is the only other one that I thought was a little bit interesting. And beyond that, I had a really hard time, again, being a more horizontally focused player, I had a really hard time getting to anybody else who was super interesting. Vertical, sure, I can totally understand what you're going to say. Some of the rest of this front end falls apart and you build a try or something underneath it. But I think Jackie's Warrior is probably your most singleable horse on the day.
Yeah, I would pretty much tend to agree with what Mark said. I tried pretty hard to find a way to at least not make him my top pick, because that's so boring. But Jackie's Warrior would have to fall down to lose this race. I mean, he'd have to go full Dennis's Moment to not win this race.
I was going to say, like Dennis's Moment last year?
Yeah. He is so much faster. I mean, the only other horse that's in reasonable striking distance is the horse he's already dusted twice, reinvestment risk. Other than that, even a horse like Elusive or Essential Quality would have to take a pretty significant step forward off that, at least on the sheets, to actually get into the same conversation. And I just don't know that I see that happening. I think I still want to see Essential Quality answer a few questions. Got away with, kind of pouncing on a slow pace last time. I'm not really sure what was behind him. I do like to see the win over the distance and surface. That's always nice. I think he's more of a 3-year-old going longer type horse I'm interested in as opposed to right here. I just think Jackie's Warrior has it way too together, way too polished right now. I mean, I know there's a lot of speed in here, but I just can't get away from Jackie's Warrior. He's so much faster. If I'm looking to play anything horizontally, he's a single A. If I'm looking to play something vertically, I'm probably slamming a chalky exacta with him over reinvestment risk. I guess a horse, that I think Josh mentioned briefly that I might get up for a piece would be Sitting on Go. I guess he is the horse that, if you assume Jackie's Warrior loses, it's probably because he either can't navigate 2 turns or the pace falls apart. And I think that Sitting on Go is probably the likeliest beneficiary of that latter situation, assuming reinvestment risk doesn't just outrun them anyway. So he's one I guess you could look at as kind of rounding out your exactas and trifectas. I feel like he's going to almost fit the max player role in this field, where everybody kind of recognizes he probably can't win, but everybody keys him in second and third and fourth. So I don't know how much value there's really going to be in that, but that is probably the one horse that's most likely to run his race.
I can see a scenario in my head where reinvestment risk knows that the only path to victory for him, is to try to get up there and duel and, make it hard for Jackie's Warrior. And if that's the case, I feel like reinvestment risk is going to take itself out of the exacta, not necessarily out of the trifecta, but I feel like it really opens it up for one of those, horses that are going to be, running late, which, by the way, if you're a Briz person and subscribe to the Briz pace figures, Camp Hope with a 104 late speed figure at 30-1 is just completely juicy for one of those horses that can suck up and pick off a fading reinvestment risk, even if reinvestment risk doesn't necessarily fade all that much. I feel like that's the horse that could really juice up those verticals.
Well, I'll
you
see
can play that tomorrow. I won't charge you.
I'll
Caleb.
see your 104 late pace figure, and I'll show you a 106 late pace figure in the 2 King Fury, who is actually, I have the way I kind of have this structured right now is I have Jackie's Warrior as a single A, but I am definitely going to be spreading a couple of Bs in this race. This is the type of race that that you're going to want. I mean, I think using Jackie's Warrior as your lone A makes sense, but I think that if you're playing multiple tickets, you have to have a ticket that has other horses in here, because we've seen what has happened in this race before. We saw what happened last year, and I mean, if you're able to get the other races right, and you get to this race and you're single to Jackie's Warrior, I mean, the horse, I don't know, the horse could hit his nose on the ground like Dennis's Moment and never be the same again. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, Jackie's Warrior is the most likely winner. I think that there is some value here in a couple other horses. The horses that I'll probably be using underneath and as Bs, we already talked about the 2 King Fury, has run at this distance already, had a slow pace, and was able to sit 2 lengths off, made up a little bit of ground on at the second call, and just took over at the straight and just blew on by everybody. Now, who did he really beat? Not really. It was just a listed stakes, but he's got 3 tries at this distance. It looks like he's been improving. He broke his maiden at this distance. Did a little bit of clunker at Keeneland, but was stuck out 4 wide. So we'll kind of draw a line through that, and I think King Fury's got a chance here to run up for second in this race. I think he's got the right run style, so I'll be using him as a B and underneath. I think Essential Quality is the other horse that you're going to want to use. I know, Mark, you kind of already talked about this horse. I am not going to use the 3 reinvestment risk at all. I don't like just seeing the same horse get beat over and over again by the other horse. I'm going to be looking for a new shooter for anything. Underneath or anything as a B. I mean, I guess you could play reinvestment risk underneath, but I don't know if the value is really going to be there. I mean, if you get, like a 7.5 2 trifecta, what's it going to pay? A couple bucks, I don't think you're going to miss anything by not using that horse underneath. And then, Caleb already talked about the other horse that I was interested in, which was the 9 sitting on go. Did just have a bullet work here at Churchill Downs on the 30th. And I think as far, at least pace wise, if this does get stupid early, and if we look at the Briz pace, we got 2 E8s, we got an E6, we got a couple EP8s and EP6, 2 EP6s. So this does look like it's going to be a contested pace. Now Jackie's Warrior might just be the best and just going to get out and just put all these horses away. I mean, that could easily happen here, but I think if you're looking for anything underneath, you got to toss out all those other horses, and you got to start looking at these S and P type horses that have passed other horses. And that's something that in 2-year-old races I always like to see. I always like to see those horses that have passed other horses and have not just always been ones. Occasionally you get one like Jackie's Warrior who just is all ones and is just the best, but I always think having a couple of those horses that have won passing other horses at a young age, having one of those in your back pocket is always very useful, especially even if just you're playing it underneath.
So a horse that I think is going to present tremendous value underneath, just absolutely tremendous, and it's a horse that is 15-1 morning line, and I would not be shocked to see the odds double, if not more, on the horse, is Wes Ward's entry with Corrales up, because the horse is coming out of an allowance race, has no stakes experience. It won passing a horse on the turf, then it won wire to wire at Keeneland in an allowance over a good surface. I really like that horse. That it's actually, it has passed. It showed a little bit of versatility. I'm just a huge fan of the Ward Corrales combo, and that's a horse where you're definitely going to float. And if you do float, then you're going to have just a absolute knockout, exactor trifecta play if you can get next onto the board. I mean, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, if you want an interesting race to watch Nexus's last race. That was a bizarrely run race. And that horse, I mean, they knew that horse was loaded, and they knew that horse was going to destroy that field. And when you win by 11 3/4 lengths on your first start on dirt, the fig's going to probably comes back either amazingly inflated or amazingly light, because the horse was just handridden down the entire stretch. There was nobody even in the same freaking county. So that is a horse that I find I would rather use somebody like Next as a B type horse than I would somebody like Reinvestment Risk. And I think actually Next is an interesting horse that, if dirt's really the surface with that one, and you don't really know where the ceiling is, which is an interesting thing to be with a 2-year-old.
All right, guys, Caleb's not here, so I can talk about this horse. I didn't want to talk about it because he clowned me earlier about this horse. The 13 Rombauer. All right, coming from Michael McCarthy, coming over here from the West Coast. West Coast in Kentucky, I know, idiot. But once again, we got another S-type horse here. We got another horse that has passed a bunch of other horses. Has only won once, so I don't think that this horse has got a chance to win here. But at least from a pace perspective, this horse looked like a plus to me. Gets JJ aboard, which is fine. But Michael McCarthy, he doesn't usually ship horses if he doesn't think he's got a shot. So I'm feeling like Rombauer might be pretty live for your tries and supers here. So I think that might be one to look at.
I like where your head's at, but I in the end decided I didn't want to use because I was looking at that ugly C+ workout grade.
What about the Baffert horse, the 8?
Not using.
I had never even heard of this horse until I saw the PP. So
just broke its mid. It's once I mean, like I get it. These are 2-year-olds. They can step up. They can move forward really quickly. But you want to see something.
Yeah.
Oh, they did pay enough for this one.
Yeah, 775.
And with different drug testing, he might actually be able to feel his legs. So who knows?
Got him. Oh, I was just checking to see if Caleb said be right back. So I didn't know.
He's getting his pre BCBC fight with Jessen right now.
Yeah, so I think we might need to wait for him because I think his opinions after this little pause might be a little bit more on. But yeah, that's all the races. That's all the races here. I do want to remind everybody before tomorrow, so you got a couple hours here still. Make sure you send me over your picks for our prop bets from last time. Once again, I will be sending out a T-shirt to everybody, and maybe I'll pick multiple winners. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what how many entries we get here. But so far I've only gotten a handful, so everyone's got a really good shot at getting something. So you were gonna say
I'd say one little plug before we get off. I would imagine everybody's probably seen it on Discord, but if you haven't, running a group pick 6 for Saturday for the late pick 6, $20 minimum buy-in in increments of $20, and we got about $3K right now to play with. Myself and Evil Bob Dole, and also Steven are putting that together. So if you're interested, give me a ping. Let me know.
I'll give Caleb another minute here, just in case he's got anything, and so we can wish him luck on his BCBC tomorrow, assuming he's still alive and is not getting strangled currently. So I know we had mentioned the undercard. Are you guys playing anything on the undercard, or are you guys just watching?
I'm going to be playing. I think the early pick 5 is super interesting. I honestly think I ran through all pick 5 sequences on the weekend, and I capped them all. I think that the one that has the biggest sort of bomb payout potential is this early tomorrow. Both the first, second, all the races on that sequence are pretty loaded. There's a lot of talent in there. A couple of horses that I've been looking to get into the kind of spots they're in tomorrow. One being Trash Can in the third, Taishan, getting second start in turf. He should have won his last one out. If Julian was a little better timed, and he's a horse I've been kind of waiting to get on the proper surface for a long time. So I will be very interested in building some stuff around him, and I think the sequence is super deep. It wouldn't surprise me to have a couple of 2 or 3 $20 plus winners in that sequence.
I think tomorrow, especially when it comes to BC play, I'm probably going to opt out of a pick 5, but I am going to put together a very, very skinny contrarian pick 4, sort of like if I do hit it, it's going to be just a monster score kind of hit. I'm probably not going to multi-ticket it because I think that I'm going to have a lot stronger opinions about tomorrow, considering, which is obvious because today, Friday, because tomorrow is all, 2-year-old races. And I'm probably going to be, looking back and forth and spot playing between the ducks and everything. I had some long shots that I'm going to put some win bets on, and then I'll probably have a couple of 1 or 2 exacta and trifecta. I guess I have to put together fucking trifecta plays after to do the over unders on that, which I guess I will share with Josh for official tallying purposes.
I'll probably be just spot playing the early part. I'm gonna try and put together a skinny pick 5, mostly for action, but I think most of my stronger opinions are actually on Saturday. So I might, I'll probably put together a ticket like something stupid like singling Campanelle and singling Jackie's Warrior and trying to get like a $24 pick 5 ticket or something in here, like more so for action, and not expecting like a huge payout, but I don't know, with the way that Breeders' Cup is, there was one year that was like super chalky. Maybe it was 2 years ago. I hit the pick 5, but I hit it for like $1.50, and it still paid like $500-$600 or something. So for $1.50. and I think me and my brother split a ticket for $100 in. So, I mean, getting 5-1 back on your money, isn't the worst thing. So, but yeah, I haven't even like looked at the early yet. So, I'll probably be spot playing, and especially with all these 2-year-old races, sometimes I feel like with the volatility in those 2-year-old races, sometimes playing the longer horizontals are even riskier than they normally are. So playing stuff like pick threes and doubles, I think are a little bit more realistic, and you might you might get value and not have to invest as much money, especially if you're looking at something like that last race where you think Jackie's Warrior is almost unbeatable, but you don't see the value in that race. Okay, put together a $2 double from the leg before with a couple of bombs in the next. I mean, hey, you might just suck up on a $200 double. Like there's definitely value, but I think sometimes especially on these like 2-year-old days, I think there's just a little too much volatility for me to get like heavily invested in the pick 5 or anything like that. Welcome back, Caleb.
Thank you.
We wanted to know, are your opinions after that little break going to be stronger?
No, I had to go play doctor and nurse.
Damn it! Both. No, that's the opposite. He did something nice. No.
You're right. So you should probably disregard everything I just said for the last hour and a half.
We were just talking about the undercard a little bit. I know your BCBC starts tomorrow. Were you looking at targeting anything in the undercard? Are you just going to be playing the absolute minimum tomorrow and focusing on Saturday?
Yeah, I didn't see anything on the undercard that I really loved. I think there's some good races. That turf race in particular, I think, is really interesting.
Race 3?
Yeah, race 3. There's a lot of horses in there I kind of like. I don't necessarily want to talk about it, but I do think Fancy Liquor is probably the horse to beat. But I think there's about 3 other horses in there over 10-1 that I think look really interesting.
You cannot bet Enforceable because Enforceable came out of the Risen Star. I was told that you do not want any horses out of that Risen Star.
Well, this is turf and
like later, 9 years later.
Yeah, I didn't see anything I liked on the undercard, really. Not enough to chase for BCBC purposes anyway. I mean, it's Breeders' Cup. I'm probably going to fire every pick 5 they offer because I have no self-control. But I don't think that I really, what I'm really targeting, $600 a race for the minimums on BCBC. I'm not going to target something on the undercard. I don't have any super strong opinions on Friday. My strongest opinions are really that Jackie's Warrior probably wins and that Princess Noor probably loses. So I'll probably be focusing most of my Friday action on those last 3 races, the Juvenile Phillies, the Juvenile Phillies Turf, and then the Juvenile. The Juvenile Turf Sprint is too open for me with Golden Powell getting that terrible draw. And the Juvenile Turf is a really fun race. It's a great betting race, but it's probably a little too open for me to take a confident swing at, unless I'm going to play something like Singling today out of the office in race 8. But yeah, I'm kind of still kicking around a few different ideas. I'm definitely going to have some bets in race 8 and race 9 and race 10 though, for sure. And I'll probably skip most other races for BCBC.
I'm a little interested in Mironique in that marathon.
That marathon's a horrible race.
I know, that's why I'm interested in Mironique.
I mean, if Noda still has a special sauce, it's probably Danny California, but tenfold also.
How about the horse that won the Tokyo City?
The turf horse?
I don't know. The one running, what was it, 13 and 14? It was Danny California. What was the other one?
It's CPDS, CLS. Who the heck is that?
Cupid's Claws. Yeah, the turf horse.
Yeah, Cupid's Claws. That horse.
I mean, I think he's too slow, but nothing would surprise me in this field.
I mean, he's the fastest horse in the field on, I think on both time form and BSF.
Yeah,
just again off that one race because he's won one race on dirt. So
I don't think I can bet a Noda horse that doesn't have Jose Ortiz aboard. So
Yeah, the sheets didn't like that race, and I know he just won 1.5 miles by 7 lengths, but a Kitten's Joy horse on the dirt still just doesn't sit right with me. But I get it. This is a terrible race, and if you went 10 deep, I still wouldn't feel comfortable.
Check out so Amir Nake, the 9 horse. Check out the average winning distance for the sire. That's pretty funny.
9.4. He probably only has like 10 starters, though, I would guess.
Yeah, I mean, but that's, I mean, even with that few starters, I think that's a freaking huge. It's a pretty big number. I forgot who's the big.
It's because one horse won a 20 furlong race, and the others were all
probably. I mean, the SPI is 0.6, so he's clearly not a very classy stallion.
Who is the Mark? I don't know if you got Formulator up. If you could do like the sire, was it the sire snapshot? If you got any stats on the sires in this race for marathon distances, I always get confused in these. I love these races because it's just something you don't see all the time. So I love that Belmont and that Naira just cards these like every like couple months. Or every month or so. Like there's like a grade 3 or some listed stakes that's 1.75 miles or whatever.
They're always the final race of the Oakwan meet too, and I love them because they're just such a fucking get out race for the meet.
Yeah, and then you always get Rocket Tree and Marconi and
You're to blame.
Yeah, who's the other one? American Tattoo, right? Isn't that another one that they run real long? So, and then who's the other? Is it Sir Winston? Sir Winston, weren't they running him in these two?
Rick?
No, not Sir Rick.
If you want win percentage, Rocketry is your horse by a ton.
Well, and that's probably all because of Rocketry.
I'm purely on last 5 years dirt greater than 1 mile and 3/16 win percentage on pedigree. Rocketry is your horse with the 12 asterisks I just gave you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Curlin's been like super bad either going long.
Yeah, that's why I like Tenfold. I mean, Curlin over a Tappet mare, the horse probably wants to run forever. But it's 10 fucking fold. So,
I mean, it doesn't matter. The horse is just super runs the same speed no matter what. So, well, maybe he could fucking do 2 miles and still keep the same pace. I don't know.
Yeah, you got to figure out the horses that are here because they actually deserve to be here, and the horses that are here because they've already cleared allowance conditions and they're just way too bad to win anything at 8 or 9 furlongs. So they're trying to take a shot at one of these goofy ass marathon races.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us. We're going to try and end this before 2 hours. So, because I think tomorrow is going to be super long. So tomorrow night we're going to do same time. We're going to do 8:30 or 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. We'll be doing a quick recap of Friday. Probably 15 to 30 minutes. I say 15 minutes, so I assume it will probably go double that. And then we're going to jump right into the rest of the races. So contact Mark about that group ticket. I think we're doing increments of 20. Contact me or any of us and make sure but just don't get it to me right before first post tomorrow, please. Try and just get it to me tonight. Your entry for our prop bets. Once again, I'll send you out a t-shirt. A t-shirt or various other swag. I don't know. I forgot what the pricing on some of that stuff is, but we'll say anything that's $25-$30 or something. Yeah, I'll be happy to send you guys out stuff. And I only have a couple entries, so I mean I think you could probably pull numbers out of a hat and maybe have a shot. For Chase, the Wolf of Oaklawn, for the BCBC, the future BCBC champion, Caleb, for future BCBC participant Mark, and for the future $12 tournament participant me. We're on the wrong lead, and we will catch you guys later.